Hi everyone. So in this lab overview today, what I wanted to do is I wanted to go through a few parts of the lab with you. I think it's pretty straightforward, but I know from past experiences that there are a few parts of the lab that can sometimes trip people up. So in this particular lab, you're going to be learning all about soils. So I have an example of what we call a profile is. So one of the things I'd like you to do this week is to go and use some kind of tool to dig up some soil in your backyard. So the idea here is that what you'd like to get is you would like to get part of this A horizon, which is going to be the soil that's going to be near the top of the ground, so that's going to be close to right under the grass, and it's typically darker in color. And then you're also going to want to try to get some of this B horizon. And the B horizon, again, is going to be lighter in color. It should be not quite as dark as your A horizon is. So use whatever tool you have at your disposal. So if you have a shovel, if you have a spade, even if you don't have any garden tools, you can actually just use, I know it sounds silly, but you can actually use a butter knife, and you can use the knife to kind of cut into the ground and cut yourself out a little circle and pull it out. So there's lots of different ways we can get soil. And again, it can be anywhere. Your yard would be the easiest place to get it. If you don't have a yard, you can certainly go to a nearby park, but try to dig up as small as a piece of soil as you can if you're not in your own yard. Okay, so what I have then is I have, if you guys can see, so I have my A horizon here, which again is kind of darker in color. And then I don't know how well this will come across in the video, but so this is my, oops, here we go. This is my B horizon, and again, you can kind of see that it's a little bit lighter in color, so it's a little bit light brown versus the topsoil, the A horizon, which was much darker in color. So I'm going to take these two samples of soil, and I am going to try to figure out what the profile is based on something called the Munsell soil color charts. So I have in your lab these color charts, and on the left is a number starting at the top with an 8, the lightest color, all the way down to the bottom is 2, the darkest color. And then down here along the bottom, so that's the value, and then the bottom is the chroma, right? So again, from 1 to 8. So if this is going to be a two-part number, it's going to be 8, probably actually you won't have any white soil. It's going to be probably like 3-3 or 2-6 or something like that, depending on it. So again, just do your best to actually, hold your samples up to your computer screen and just sort of figure out what looks best, right? Again, this isn't exact. The idea here is we want to find whatever colors we can. So you're going to get the value in chroma from this first sheet. And then once you have those numbers, you're going to use this second sheet here, and it actually has some colors for you. So let me see if I can sort of zoom in on this picture here a little bit more for you. And I think you can actually start to see some of the colors here. So a 4-2 would be a dark grayish brown. A 2-2 would be very dark brown. So that's what you're going to put. You're going to put the colors, which are the pale brown, dark brown, whatever it happens to be, and then the Munsell color number. Okay, so that's what you're going to be using these cards for. Then you're going to use that information to fill out some information in this table right here. So again, what was your color that you found from the color chart? These are the characteristics of your soil based on that color, and this is your A horizon. And then we're also going to do the B horizon as well. So for the B horizon, we're going to look at colors. Again, is it gray? Is it black, brown, or yellow? Is it, again, depending on it. And then you can also figure out, based on those colors that you determined for your B horizon, you can actually figure out what minerals are responsible for the color that you're seeing. So if you have something that happens to be sort of a very pale brown, it's probably got dolomite in it or gypsum in it, for example, which is a combination of things like calcium and iron and sulfate and things like that. So again, it's just sort of informative. Why are your soils colored the way that they are? After that, what you're going to do is you're going to, and here, we don't need to be super close in anymore. What you're going to do next is you're going to actually, let me move this over here. You're going to figure out Soil is important for lots of different things, and one of the primary things soils are important for is when it comes to determining what we can grow in them, right? So we need good productive soils with deep A horizons. That's where all the nutrients are. They're in that A horizon. We need lots of nutrients in our A horizon in order to grow things. So typically the nutrients that we're most concerned about, that the plants need most to grow, are nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. So we also call those NPK is what they are short for. And the idea is that in order to grow certain crops, we know that we need a certain amount of nutrients. So in this activity, what you're going to do is you're going to assume that we're looking at the soils at Harper's campus, and we've tested them, and we have figured out that this is how much nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium we have available at Harper. So what I want to know is, based on these numbers, can we grow all of these different crops? So in order to determine if we can grow it, we need to have these numbers here be bigger than these numbers in this table. Okay, so for example, let's take corn. Could we grow corn at Harper? So we would need 240 pounds of nitrogen in the soil to grow corn. Well, I can tell you that's not going to happen because we only have 15 pounds of nitrogen, right? We do have enough phosphorus because we have 200 pounds and this is only 100 that's needed. We also don't have enough potassium because we only have 180 and you need 240 to grow it. So the answer is no, there's not enough here, all right? So you're going to go through all of these different types of crops. So I have grains, I have hay, I have fruits and vegetables and some other things, just so that you can see that you can't grow crops everywhere, right? There's a reason why you have certain states that produce an awful lot of the country's grains, for example. So we do have good soils here in sort of the downstate and western part of Illinois. We do have good soils for growing crops, and that's why you do find that we grow a lot of corn and a lot of soybeans and other things. That's very true of the entire Midwest. But you move further west in the United States and you'll find that you don't see those crops because, again, you don't have the same type of productive soils. So that's important. After you do that, you're going to try to figure out what particle sizes are in your soil. So soil is made up of a combination of different size particles, and there's 3 particles we're going to talk about: sand, silt, and clay. So sand are the largest of the soil particles. So if you have been to a beach or you have been to a place that has sand, you have noticed that sand does not hold water, right? So if you're at the beach and you take a bucket of water and you dump it on the sand, the water immediately disappears, right? It doesn't sit on the surface. So we say sand is big and there's lots of holes in between the sand grains, and it allows a lot of water to go through. Silt is the next particle size. So silt is a medium-sized particle. It's not as big as sand, but it's not super tiny. It's somewhere in the middle. So silt does a better job of holding on to water, but it's not as good as our last particle. And our last particle is clay. Clay is teeny, 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 tiny. Clay particles stick together and they allow almost no space to water for water to go through. So clay soils hold water, but they hold too much water sometimes, and soils can become waterlogged, and that's not good for plants either. So an ideal soil type for your plant would be a mixture of all 3. So sand, silt, and clay, in a mixture of 3 of those, would be the best type of soil for your plants because it will hold on to some water, but it'll also allow some water to pass through so that your roots don't rot sitting in water. So how do you figure out what's in your soil? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called the texture test. And there's a video here that shows you exactly what the texture test is. So please watch that video. And then here are the step-by-step instructions. So you're going to place a small sample of soil in your hand. I'm not going to do this right now because I don't have water available, but you're going to do this over a sink, for example. You're going to put water on it to make it wet, and then you're going to try to squeeze it into a ball. If it stays in the ball, you're going to move on to the next step. If it doesn't, you have pure sand, which pretty sure none of you have pure sand. And you're going to keep going, and you're going to keep following in the instructions until you get to one type of soil down here. And again, these are combinations of soils that either have a lot of clay, they have a lot of do they have silt in them? Do they have more sand in them? So again, it just depends on what type of soil that you have. So that's what you're using your soil samples for today. Last but not least is you're going to look at the things that live in the soil. We're mostly talking about invertebrates in this case, and you're going to classify them based on their trophic level. So when we talked about ecosystems and trophic levels, are they herbivores? Are they carnivores? What is it that they do? So I've given you some diagrams with these insects on them. All you have to do is look them up and then tell me what feeding level that they are on. So that is it for lab this week. Again, it's another go outside type of lab. We've got to take advantage of these nice days while we still have them, of course. And if you have any questions, please let me know.